So here's how it'll work. I will call out the quarterback. You guys can tell me which of those 6 categories you think they should be in. We'll go by majority rules. If we have a 3-way tie, we will try to average it out as best as we see fit. So if one of us says elite, one of us says below average, one says should be cut, their range is going to be in the average to above average range. So we have a hot candidate to start us off. We have Mr. Dak Prescott.
Ooh, who wants to be the first
Dude,
one to trigger Cowboys
dude,
fans?
He's
dude,
he's
you're
he's
missing a category.
what's the
You're missing
category?
a category. Mid. Like, where's
No,
mid?
average. Average is mid.
Average is mid.
Average.
No. Average is not mid. You
Average is
know that.
mid.
You
Mid.
know
Average is
there's a
mid.
difference.
Average is mid. This
Okay?
is middle.
Because,
Mid.
dude, because Dak Prescott, okay, like if you look in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary and you look up the word mid, you will see a portrait of Dak Prescott, and he's holding a very small trash can. Okay, it's very small. He's holding a
Is this
very
your
small trash
personal Green Bay versus
There.
Dallas
I added
bias
mid.
coming
No.
out?
Mid is now a
Okay.
category. So is that your
Dak
category?
Dak Prescott is the definition of mid. He's a
ShawnOh, what do
big
you got?
bucket of mid.
It pains me to say this. I do think Dak is above average.
I agree.
I think you would. I think you can put him maybe in the top 10. You're probably looking more of like the 11 to 13 range, but I think he's above average.
Dak Prescott has
And-
fallen into the above average range. I agree
And
with
mid
that
goes
statement.
mid goes between. It goes halfway.
Are we
between
talking regular
average
season
and
or
halfway
postseason?
between above
Because
average?
that
I think we're talking
changes.
Dak as a QB.
Because granted, he plays more regular season games, so that's why he ends up in the above average. If he only played playoff games, he'd be a below average or should be cut quarterback. Like that is just how it is. He's above average in this case. I know Lefty wants him in the mid range. All right, next up, we have another hot candidate, Jalen Hurts.
No, me, you go first here.
For me, Jalen Hurts, he's gonna fall into the. This is tough. I'm gonna have to put him in the star category. I just think some of his throws are questionable. His arm strength worries me at times. I know he can be an outstanding runner with the football, especially in short yardage situations. Obviously, the tush push was something that the Kelsey had a big part in kind of making sure that happened. But I still think if you take him and his strength and size in short packages, like he can be an absolute demon. But he's gonna be a star for me. What do you got?
I will agree with you on the star. I think he is a star. What
Lefty,
he can do
anything?
playmaking
Yep,
wise.
tier 2.
Tier 2,
I'd
alright,
put him.
star.
I'd drop him right.
We'll
in
try to
for sure.
cut the analysis down as much as possible, or we'll be here for a while. All right, next up, maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the league, Daniel Jones.
I would put him in mid.
Mid, wow, okay. Lefty?
I'd put him at mid.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say I would have said below average. I don't even think he is mid. I think he is below average.
He just doesn't have receivers. He doesn't really,
bro had an
it's
open
hard for
path
him.
to running into the end zone and fell. Like that's like just
happens,
bad.
man.
Like, no,
it's
no,
MetLife turf, dude.
He fell,
it's MetLife turf.
He fell. All right, next up we have a quarterback who has not played yet in the NFL. So this is gonna be an interesting one here. We have Jaden Daniels coming out of LSU, playing for the Washington Commanders.
I think I would like to put him in average. Start off.
Okay.
I think it's tough to rank rookie QBs. I'm gonna more look into his situation, and I think he's going into an all-right situation. I think people are doubting Washington more than they need to. I really like the coaching upgrades they made. You have Terry there, so I do think he's gonna have a solid season there in Washington.
He reminds me a lot of kind of an Anthony Richardson. I think he's gonna be mobile. I think he's gonna wow some people with what he can do with his feet. I do think he has a pretty solid arm for a mobile quarterback. But his big thing will making sure he doesn't do what Josh Allen did his rookie year, where he took some shots. But Jaden Daniels took some shots in college. And that's not an understatement. That man needs to learn how to protect his body. All right, next up, we've got the greatest game manager in 49ers history, Brock Purdy. What do we got here? Lefty.
This is a very difficult one for me. Because yes, you're right. Game manager. Haha. Yeah. Haha.
Good at it though. He's not bad at it.
Yeah, he's very good. He's very good at it, and he has very comparable like very, very comparable to somebody who's already up on that board. And I
Hmm.
want to put him right next to him. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put Brock Purdy as above average.
Shauna, what do you got?
I'm gonna agree. I think he's an above average quarterback. I do think he does benefit from the weapons he has, but coming out of nowhere as the last pick in the last round, he ended up fighting off Trey Lance, who was their big guy. So he won the QB battle, and I think that says a lot about a team like the 49ers, who's a Super Bowl contender. They have trust in him, and from what we've seen so far, I think you could say he's above average.
All right, I would lean more towards the average range. I think the talent he has around him is just so impressive. He's yet to really show me that, like, I may have seen a handful of throws from him where it's like, all right, he made that catch, he made that play possible. I just think the way they scheme up, the way Shanahan schemes it up, it's so easy to get guys wide open. All right, next up we've got a veteran here. We got Matthew Stafford. Where do we think Matthew
Easy.
Stafford falls?
I I don't want to say star, but he's on that verge of being a star. Like I would put him
He
above
is.
Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
That's
think he's like
dude.
a star. I don't think like you're looking at him as like your franchise guy, obviously because of his age. But I think right now in his career, I would put him at above average, right in front of Dak Prescott.
Lefty.
I
And
would put him.
obviously
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
order doesn't really matter, but
He would be like if these were weight classes, okay? Like if these were weight classes in the above average weight class, he would be the champ.
Mm.
He
yeah,
would have the belt.
I
All
agree.
right. Dak Prescott would be the number one contender, but he'd be the champ.
Yeah. All right. I would agree. I think above average. He's one of the better just like passing quarterbacks that we have still in the league. I mean, I know he's accomplished a ton in his career in terms of statistical numbers. He was able to win a Super Bowl when he was finally put in a franchise that actually had the ability to win now, right? Rather than building up with like what the Lions are doing now. Next up, we got Geno Smith. I'll kind of start off here. For me, Geno
Average,
Smith is average.
the most
Average.
There are times
one of the most
he
average.
can be great, but there are also times where falls into that below average range. So he just falls into that average.
I
Next up, we
agree.
got an interesting one here. We've got a very talented runner, but we got Kyler Murray.
I'm gonna start off hot. I
Mhm.
think he's a star.
Wow. Yeah,
I
Lefty, what do
think
you got?
when he came back, Carolina or not Carolina, Arizona was a top 10 offense in the league when
When
he
he
came
came
back.
back this year, I will agree with you. He looked more like a star. I
I
still
think he
think
can do it all. With even some maybe you could argue lack of weapons. We haven't seen him and Marvin Harrison yet, but Trey McBride popped up as arguably a top 3, 4 tight end in the league at the end of last year.
that's true.
Yeah.
So I personally think he has the potential of being a star, and I think he is a star. I just would like to see it for a full season. I would get above average, but I think he is a tier above Matthew Stafford and Dak Prescott.
I have a really hot take.
Mm-hmm. Name of the
A
show.
really hot take on, and that hot take is, I think that even though it sucks so much that Ojulari's out for the season with the ACL tear,
Mhm.
I think that if Kyler stays healthy and he has the running back core that he's had in Arizona for the last couple years, and he has the offensive weapons in Rondell Moore, like and with Marvin Harrison, like I I think that I would put him as a star as well because he has the potential numbers, but he's never really had like a genuine threat
Mm.
for a weapon. You know what I mean?
Well, D
Like,
Hop,
I
but
mean, I would
he's an
say,
upset
well,
right now.
well, yeah, obviously, but that's, I mean, he showed what he did with
I
Diop.
mean,
Like,
I think as a runner though, like so if I'm evaluating Kyler Murray as a runner, he's elite. I think he's
Yeah.
like clearly
Yeah.
one of the most talented runners of a quarterback. In terms of arm strength and in terms of his passing ability, I kind of would have him fall into that above average range. So as a star seems like the perfect place for him, right? He's got that elite running ability. He's above average maybe as a quarterback. His height is something that could come back to hurt him in some situations. But again, I think his ability to run and find himself an open pocket to throw in gives him that ability. He's got a canon. Just make sure it's got to be accurate. All right, next up we got Jordan Love. For me, Jordan Love is going to fall into the above average range. I know you guys are going to have a higher rating for your boy, even though he is above average.
I do have a star just because of the guys we compared him to.
Mhm.
Like we'll get to him later, obviously, but I would say Tua's above average, but I think Jordan Love is better than Tua.
Okay.
So that's why I would personally put Jordan. He's also pretty young still and well developed.
Lefty,
But
what
I
do you
do
got
get
for him?
above average. I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah,
So you got him in above average?
You can put him above average. I mean, we can also change this by the end of it too. You know, if we
Yeah.
have too many above average,
Yeah.
everything can pump up. So
yeah. I mean, well, you have to remember he's only had one season. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
One full
yeah,
season, and yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's like with Kyler and Jalen, like they've had, multiple seasons that we've been able to base our
Yeah.
decision off of. But with Jordan Love, we've only just gotten,
Mhm.
is basically that was his rookie season,
Mhm.
in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I'd put him above average.
All right, next
See
up
what
we
he
got
does.
Caleb Williams. Again, I think kind of with these rookies, I think we're gonna have to throw him in the average range.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I would lean more above average just because of the weapons he's walking into, and I
Yeah.
think he's walking into a great opportunity. So,
Yeah.
but you haven't seen it yet, so I
Yeah,
think
average.
probably all the rookies probably
All right,
deserve
next up
average.
we got an interesting one, Jared Goff.
Above average for me,
I would, yeah, above average.
Okay.
definitely above average.
I think
Yeah.
this past year was a big year of growth and development for him in that system. I think in Detroit he's really kind of started to show that. So above average fits for me as well. JJ McCarthy. What do we think about JJ? I think I'm gonna have to put him in kind of that like mid
If you
tier.
can't start over Sam Darnold, I think you're gonna start off the year mid. Personally,
I think you're
I think
mid.
he has the potential of being an above average quarterback, but as of right now, I'm gonna put him in mid.
Yeah.
I think
Next
you're
up we got Derek Carr.
Well, first person on this list below average.
Lefty.
Yeah, I would agree.
I disagree with both of you. I think this guy should be cut.
I would put him above some of the guys on that we will see later on. But
I guess I just like last year was just like it's just too much inconsistency offensively.
Yeah.
Like he either is throwing well or he's not taking care of the football. In my opinion, like the amount of money he gets paid, it's not even remotely close that he should be cut. You should try to find someone younger or go into the draft and find someone. You're not in a situation as the Saints where you're like necessarily a championship caliber team. So that's where I fall. Next up, we've got Kirk Cousins.
I'm going to take a page out of Lefty's book here. If you look at the definition of average, it is Kirk Cousins face plastered on it.
You like
he
that?
Is the average quarterback. He does nothing A+, but he has nothing C+. Like he is the most like B tier quarterback.
B tier would be like above average to.
I would say B tier or like B+ is above average, like A- your star, then A+ your elite.
Okay.
Personally, but
just a fucking.
Next up, we got former #1 overall pick and Alabama legend Bryce Young.
I put him in average. I would put him in average personally. I just think he's in a horrible situation. You can't unlock his talent right now. Me personally, I'd put him in average. But I understand mid or below average.
Well, see, here's the thing with Bryce Young. Like, even if you don't have the talent, you show sparks. You show certain things, like you have certain aspects of your game that people focus on, not that are necessarily contingent with stats, like not everything to do with stats or what have you, but like just like, oh, he's a rookie and he does this well and he does this well and he does that well. Motherfucker don't do nothing well. I've never seen anyone talk any positive about Bryce Young in the NFL. In the NFL.
So where are you putting him?
He's a below average quarterback
below
to
average.
me.
Yeah, I think he's
not an
fall
NFL ready quarterback.
That mid category for me. I know Sean, I'm at
that.
average. I'm below average. I'm at mid. Again, I think kind of with Sean, there's still some things to prove. All right, next up, we've got another guy who I think is going to fall into that kind of average range in Baker Mayfield.
I think you said it.
Again, another just like, hey, he's gonna get the job done and he'll put you in a position to win football games, but he's not necessarily going to win those games for you. He may put you in a spot where you don't have to.
Yeah, the greatest game at Lambeau Field ever.
But Baker Mayfield is an average quarterback. Next up, we've got the potential starter and maybe one of the greatest draft picks in NFL history, and Michael Penix Jr. going number 9 overall to the Atlanta Falcons. Where does Michael Penix? I think he's 25 or 24. Where does Michael Penix fall?
Put him in mid.
Mid. Lefty, you got
I just think at his age
Lefty's
as a rookie,
traumatized.
you're gonna be a starter at what 27 maybe if things go well in Atlanta. At best 27. I just don't know if we're ever gonna see his full potential unlocked.
Yeah. Lefty, got anything? I got him in mid as well. I actually I actually kind of want to go to below average for him. I don't know where do you fall with him, Lefty?
Mid.
All right, so he'll fall into the mid range. I think I mean I just think he took so much abuse in college that I just don't know how that translates. Like some of the shots he took in that championship game, granted it's championship game, you got to put it all on the line. If he takes one of those types of shots from a linebacker in the NFL, he will break a rib. Like it's just like his
Would
body's...
you rather Derek Carr or Michael Penix Jr.?
Derek Carr, because I've seen him do it in the NFL before.
Okay.
That's just kind of that's what I think. They're both kind of in a similar tier, but I think I would take Carr just because
me personally, I've seen Derek Carr, and I'd rather take my chances on a guy who can maybe do something in Michael Penix. That's my thought process.
All right, for me, I think we have my first elite in Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is in that elite tier. He's a super physical runner. He's got a good arm. He can take care of the football. Again, when he gets into open space, like I don't think a lot of dudes want to hit that, especially defensive backs. Linebackers are okay, but he has his little fake slide that he starts doing now, which is ridiculous. But yeah, he's I think our first elite one. Next up, we got Tua Tagovailoa. We just talked about Tua. Where does Tua fall for y'all?
I'm between above average and average.
I just don't think he can be in the above average because we kind of classed him out with Jordan Love. I think he's got to have
That's
to
why
fall
I was leaning Jordan Love as a star originally, but I wouldn't care. I think he's like I think something with Matthew Stafford where like he's the champ of average.
If you throw Tua in a different offense, he could drop to like that mid below average. I think he's a product of what he's around. So for right now, I think average is a great place for him. Like if you took Tua and you took Mac Jones and you swapped their places when they were drafted, right? Like I think Mac Jones would look pretty decent too. It's not hard to hit some of those guys.
Is there any guy above average you'd rather take Tua over?
In the above average, I'd rather take Tua over. No.
Yeah. No.
I would take all those
guys. And the average, who would you take?
I mean, Brock Purdy, I think would be the closest to me with Tua, if that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, next up we got Drake May. We just had our first, we had an interaction here from a known doctor in the community, Dr. Aquafresh, who says Drake May should be mid to below average respectfully. Where does Drake May fall for you two? I think Drake May is going to fall into that kind of mid to potentially average range. I just don't think he's ready to be in the NFL, and I don't think he's going to be starting for the Patriots. He's probably a city-year guy.
There's not a good system.
Hopefully,
him right now.
Is able to get some products around him in the next couple of years. But yeah, I think right now he's kind of in that mid-tier. He didn't play great at UNC, and like in college, I think like you have to win games in college to be a good NFL quarterback. He might not play in the first preseason game, but that's not unheard of. A lot of rookie quarterbacks don't play till the second or even third preseason game as they're still learning the system. They get to experience an NFL game day, kind of start to experience like what the culture's like, see some of the hits. You don't want to get these guys out there, shatter their confidence early. Even Caleb Williams didn't start in the first game or didn't play in that first game as well. So that's kind of a time for you to see a little more defensive players, some receivers in these first two games. The third and fourth preseason games are where you really start to see what the team's going to look like going into week one. All right, next up we have former Green Bay Packer and future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers coming back to play with the Jets. Where's Aaron Rodgers fall for you?
I still think he's a star in this league, personally.
I think he's a star. Yeah. I'm gonna definitely say if he's healthy, he's definitely a star.
With that. I think he's probably one of the best. Like he just takes care of the football, and I think he can make every throw on the field. Now I don't know what his mobility is going to be like in his older
I
years.
have
Also coming
concerns
off
with his old
injury.
age. Yeah.
I know when he was younger, he relied on that, getting out of the pocket, finding that space, extra time, buying it for his receivers. He's going to have a pretty decent receiving core, so I think star is a good place for him. I'm just going to put Patrick Mahomes in elite. I don't think there needs to be too much conversation had about it. He's
I don't
probably
think
the
he should be
best
cut.
quarterback actively in the NFL.
Yep.
And yeah, there's that. Next up, we got Bo Nix coming out of Oregon. 24-year-old Bo
Mid.
Nix.
Mid.
Yeah, I think he's going to fall into a similar tier as Michael Penix, kind of like career college quarterbacks. And so there. Next up, we got Justin Herbert.
Now here's where
I think we've got different opinions here.
we're gonna have a conversation.
Yeah, what do you got, Lefty?
Well, I think Herbert's a star.
Okay.
I want really bad. I want really, really bad to put him in the elite category because he has shown so many flashes of just dominance and greatness. But that's also been coupled with injuries and, shit going on behind the scenes, whether it be locker room issues or what have you. This year is going to be a big test for him. They're revamping the entire offense, new head coach, new system,
new defensive
every
approach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I am gonna go star as well. I think just pure off talent, he's probably one of the top star guys we have in that list. There's not many guys in that list currently that I would take over Justin Herbert at this current moment. Obviously, throughout his career, he's had receiver issues. A lot of his main guys going down with injuries, and this year's gonna be a rough year when it comes to that receiving core. But I think he'll find a way to, obviously this is gonna be a kind of a run first heavy team this year with their new offensive coordinator, who's a run first guy. They have Dobbins and Gus Edwards now. But I do think Herbert's one of the big stars in this league that I think can be a little overhated or even underappreciated sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would probably slot him into the above average range. I just think like at times he's gonna have less weapons. I mean, we'll see. He'll be in a good spot to succeed this year. Been watching him a little bit in these training camps. He's been making the throws. He just doesn't have the receivers to catch them. So yeah, I think star's not a bad spot for him in terms of arm talent. I think he's definitely up there. Next up we got Mr. Aiden O'Connell. Where's Aiden O'Connell?
I think this is gonna be our first cut for me. I don't think he's a starting caliber quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is.
I think Gardner Minshew, who we're about to talk about, should be the starting quarterback.
Okay.
And for the
Left,
Raiders.
did you have anything else on Aiden O'Connell? Should be cut.
Yeah, I think O'Connell should be cut.
All right,
I don't think he's.
Let's talk Gardner a little bit.
Am I crazy to say he's kind of average?
No.
Like he led like the Colts to almost a playoff berth last year.
Would you so basically like our average range is mostly rookie quarterbacks. Would you take him over Daniel Jones? Would you take him over Bryce Young?
I think if we're comparing,
Yes.
Okay.
I would take Minshew over Bryce Young. Yes.
Would I take the contract of Daniel Jones at $40 million or what Gardner Minshew is getting paid? I think you'll get the exact same result. So I would probably say Gardner Minshew over Daniel Jones. Giants fans are gonna probably put me on a
Gardner
fucking
Minshew is a budget Baker Mayfield. Like, so it's just like I can't justify putting him in the same tier as Baker Mayfield. He's just not in that tier. I would actually categorize him probably into mid to the below average tier.
I think if you're gonna put him in mid, I think I would take there's no quarterback on that list I would take over Gardner Minshew to start.
So what do you want him? You want him in average or mid?
I would agree with mid.
Okay, we'll throw him in mid. Okay. Next up, we got Trevor Lawrence, $55 million annually. For me, Trevor Lawrence is average right now.
Yep, average.
He just hasn't done anything. Like, I think his ceiling is like that star. I don't think he's ever an elite. I just don't think he's ever going to be that.
I don't think
his ceiling is that star range. But right now, as it stands, he is average.
Average.
I got a hot take here.
I might have the same hot take as you. For me,
This is my breakout player this year.
I-
This is the guy I have as my breakout player when we get to the fantasy rankings. People may be surprised I have Richardson. I think he has the potential of being a star, but I have him right now as above average. I think he's
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, the stuff he can do with his legs and extend the play. He's got the arm talent too. I think he's like a Kyler Murray type. Maybe he hasn't proved to be the Kyler Murray type yet, but I personally have him at above average.
I personally would have him at star. I know he hasn't like proven it yet. He's been injured.
I just
He's
haven't.
young.
Yeah,
I just think like
exactly.
his ability to move around and his speed with his height is just like absolutely like unheard of. And I just don't think like we can even like yeah, it's insane what he can do. So yeah, I have him at above average or at star, but we'll put him in the above average range right now. Next up we got Mr. Mayo in my coffee, Will Levis.
Yeah,
Let me get some mayo in the below average range for me.
I'm not ranking a guy who puts mayonnaise in his coffee because I'm going to put him in the cut list.
That honestly, that right there is a
that is
bannable
incredible.
offense. Mayo
That
to
is
the
incredible.
coffee is
Fuck off my
crazy.
Get the fuck off.
Mayo to the coffee is crazy.
In all honesty,
I love mayo on a sandwich. Like it's got its time and place, but in coffee is just outlandish.
currently I
Fuck
would
off
put
my
him.
team.
I'm leaning average to mid. I think we saw some shines of him last year. I think they put some good weapons around him for him to kind of prove it. I think they're also a tough division, and I don't think Tennessee would kind of bank on waiting around to see if this guy's gonna be good or not. If they didn't trust him, so I would probably gonna lean average, but I would understand mid as well.
Okay. Next up, we got C.J. Stroud. I'm gonna start straight off. He's a
So
star.
wait, yeah. So wait, so you're not taking Will Levis out of cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be
He's a
cut.
star.
I mean, it should be mayo in my coffee. Should be a whole nother tier. But yeah, C.J. Stroud is a star. We saw what he could do
Yeah,
last
there's
year. Like
no doubt about it.
his arms
There's no doubt
insane. His
about it.
decision making was on point. Granted, he's got great receivers, but yeah, he's a star, and he could be a year or two away from potentially
Being
reaching
elite,
that elite
yeah.
category. So,
Can you move Will
I agree.
Levis? I'm sorry, it's bothering me.
where is he?
You put him in cut.
Where do you want him?
I said average to mid. I don't know about
That's
you guys.
crazy. No, this guy. No, this. I'll give you below average if anything.
Lefty.
Oh no, I would give Levis the mid tag.
All
I
right,
would give him a
Okay.
mid.
can get
We'll
him
settle
in
on
mid.
mid. We'll settle on
he's
mid.
had-
I think he's.
I mean, he's had a few,
He
sparks.
shot.
you know?
Yeah. That's what I
So,
said.
yeah.
Yeah, he had what that
Agreed.
one game against who was it? Was that the game against Miami?
His
where he,
first
like-
game when he had 4 TDs.
Yeah.
Okay,
For
so-
I don't remember what game that was. where
Well, he
came in
also played
early.
well against Miami, where they came back down 3 scores in the fourth quarter. All
Yeah.
right, next up, Deshaun Watson.
Do we have to rank this guy? I mean, if we're talking about massage parlors, he's elite. when it comes
Elite
to
in the massage parlor.
parlors.
I mean,
Listen,
actually, he's
listen.
not a parlor guy. He's like a hotel massage guy.
Yeah.
That's Robert
Um,
Kraft. Robert Kraft's hanging out in the parlors, but for
I
me,
think
If you guys are gonna rank him anywhere around average, okay,
I was gonna say
I'm
average.
gonna tell you the same thing he told the masseuse. I'm a little lower, please.
I just don't. I think he's better than
We've seen him
Daniel
perform
Jones. He's
at
better
a-
than Bryce Young. He's better than Will Levis. Better than he's average. Like at his best, he's star,
I just
right?
haven't seen
But,
him healthy in Cleveland, really.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like I don't know where his psyche's at.
average.
But yeah, we'll keep him in
Yeah.
the average range. All right, next up we got another one here. Joe Burrow. I think
Elite,
Joe
in my
Burrow for
opinion.
me is gonna go into the E. I'm fringe on star. I think I just haven't
I
seen
think
him
he's
healthy
elite.
enough. You think
I think he's the
elite?
back end of elite. I think you're arguing a top 5 quarterback, and if you're a top 5 quarterback, you're elite, in my opinion.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think elite is there's 3 guys in the NFL who are elite for me. I think he's in the
Well, you
star
can't-
range.
I think he's elite personally.
Okay.
Lefty,
You
where
can't
you
say
at?
you can't say that the top 5 quarterbacks in the league should be elite when we only have 2. We're about to add one more. And the next one, yes, but the next 2 aren't.
But I
So
think there's an
only
art-
4
You
are
can.
elite.
I think there's a huge gap between like the top 4, and then you can argue like the 5, 6, 7, 8 guys.
I think there's a gap between the top 3 and the rest. Lefty, where do you have Joe Burrow? Elite or
we've seen him compete against Patrick and Josh Allen. He's gone kind of head to head with those guys.
I just think he lacks the mobility that those two guys can both bring.
Well, let's ask this question: would you Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts,
Burrow,
Okay. Joe Burrow or C.J. Stroud?
Burrow.
C.J. Stroud. I think Burrow and Stroud is a great comparison between the two of them.
Lies our quandary.
I think
So-
Stroud and Burrow are both primarily with their arm, right? Both got incredible arms, but both really kind of lack the movement. Like I think Burrow and Herbert are very similar too.
I just think I think he also has like game management in him, where he can kind of control the pace of play. When the game comes down to the line, I think he can make those clutch plays that maybe some of these other quarterbacks haven't done or we haven't seen yet. He's been in the big games. He's performed in the big games. So I would personally, that's why I have an elite.
Lefty, you're the deciding factor here. Where do you want him?
I think Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in the league, and I think that he belongs in the elite category because he like I said, like Sean said, he has proven that he can be that big game guy, and he has shown a lot of talent in his course of time. So I have a feeling that
I think his ceiling can be elite. I just think he's a star right now.
Well-
I don't see how. I mean, he hasn't won anything.
what I think is like this year. I think this year is going to be.
It's a big
deciding factor.
yeah. Where
I mean,
we think Joe
if
Burrow
he
is as
has
quarterback.
a mediocre year, he's dropping to above average for me.
I think I'd probably drop him in a star because I think at the end of the day he's still a star regardless of. I mean,
Yes,
unless he
he's gotta-
goes
he's
like
gotta show it. I
20
mean, he's-
touchdowns and
He's
like
a
30
29 and
interceptions.
22 and 1 career record in the NFL.
Yeah, but I mean his
had
his
one
first
good-
year in
one-
Cincinnati
one
was
good year.
that was a bad team, to be fair.
All right. Next up, we have our next elite quarterback, Lamar Jackson.
yeah.
There's very
Yeah.
little debate that can be
There's
had
no
here.
debate.
He is
No debate.
maybe one of the best mobile quarterbacks in NFL history. He's gotten better with passing, which is just not good. Yeah.
God, that Ravens team this year is going to be
He's a
fucking
top. He's a
sight to
top
see.
3 quarterback, even top 2 quarterback. You could even make the argument he might be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. All right. Next up, we got the 2 Pittsburgh Steelers. First, we got
I have a
Russell Wilson.
hot take. I think both of these guys are below average quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I think I
100%.
I actually
agree.
low key would kind of bump Justin Fields into the mid category. I think he's better than Russell Wilson. Just
I think
because
he
I
is
think
too.
what he can do with his legs, and just that he's younger and he's able to offer
I
a little
guess,
more
but-
value.
I mean, those Chicago teams. I mean, he just couldn't do anything. He was very big prone to turnovers. I mean, he didn't have smart decision making.
Yeah, but his
I mean,
legs,
I know that Chicago team wasn't also good at all. But I mean, this is a guy that they were
legs are-
banking on to build around. I mean, I get that, but it's not all about just the legs. I mean, you could say Daniel Dimes with his legs, but
No. Justin Fields is a better runner than Daniel Jones is, no doubt about that. So
I mean,
Gumby.
I'm okay with mid. I would personally I think he's below average, but if you guys both say mid, then
well,
I'm fine
you
with
think
mid.
any of
you
these
think-
quarterbacks you would take Russell Wilson over? Daniel Jones, JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young, Michael
I would take
Penix?
Russell Wilson over.
Yeah.
I mean,
Drake
it's hard to say
May,
with the
Bone-
with,
like,
with the
I-
rookies. I'm not gonna say anything with the rookies because we haven't seen them. Like,
I almost think we should have had a separate rookies tab or something. Because all right, so Daniel Jones,
think
would you take Daniel Jones over Russell Wilson?
no,
Okay, so then he's mid.
or no,
Or
no, no.
Daniel Jones
I would
below
take I would take Daniel Jones over Russell.
Would you
Wilson,
take
I
Bryce
think.
Young over Russell Wilson?
Who?
Bryce Young.
It's so tough because Bryce Young's in such a shitty fucking system, and he just hasn't had anything to do. I would bank on the young guy, and
Would you take Gardner Minshew over Russell Wilson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you take Will Levis over Russell Wilson?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so then he's below average. Would you take Russell
just
Wilson
think-
over Derek Carr?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
Derek Carr is bottom of the below average range.
Yes. I think he's on the verge of being cut if he's bad this year.
Yeah.
I'm very curious by the end of the year what this looks like and what changes.
Yeah.
I am very curious. Because I think
Exactly.
there's some guys who can really rise and some guys who can really fall.
So that is our NFL tier list.